right. Well, welcome back, everybody, to Liberal Gun Club's YouTube channel and Facebook channel and Twitch channel and Twitter stream for a very special edition of the Bench Doctor's Office Hours, where the Bench Doctor and the Liberal Gun Club SHOT Operations Team, I think is what we decided to call you guys, talk about all things SHOT Show. Everybody on the panel, including the Bench Doctor, was at SHOT Show, but we sent a team of crack operatives out there to infiltrate the show with a bunch of rainbows and unicorns, and apparently some of that stuff's worth a lot of money now on eBay. So I want to do a quick round of introductions. I'm going to hand it over to Scott to basically help MC some of the questions. First, I'd like each of you to say who you are and what you do and what you did at SHOT very briefly. So if you keep it to a short thing, we'll go first, and we'll start with Lara.
I am the national spokesperson for the Liberal Gun Club, and I've been to SHOT 7 times now, but this was the first time with the team. So I coordinated this whole crazy thing with the best team I could possibly have asked for.
Well, shit, we're going to go for the next one. Let's start with Mr. Michael Ross.
Okay, Mike Ross, and I am the interim chapter president of the Oregon chapter LGC.
Mr. Smith.
Hey, this is Eddie, just a member, and I went to SHOT with the team. I've been in SHOT before, but this time going to SHOT Show with the team, I kind of helped out logistically, kind of in the background, and then walked around, made some connections, and did some videos. So.
The handsome gentleman that looks like he's in an audio studio.
Because I am in an audio studio. So I'm Paul Cronk, and I'm the director of multimedia for the club. And I, all the videos that you've been seeing coming out on YouTube and all that stuff and all the social media posts, that's pretty much what I did there.
Last but not least, we've got Mark. Say hi, Mark.
Hey, I'm Mark Okniansky, California chapter president, and part of the dream team that Lara put together.
And we don't have Kat or Alessandro on, but I believe Kat may join shortly, so we'll let her.
Oh, John.
John.
Oh, did we lose John? Oh, we lost John. How did we lose John again?
I clicked the wrong button in my infinite technological backsliding.
Okay, well, John White, ladies and gentlemen.
That's me. I am a board member, and I'm the director of merchandising. So as you can imagine, SHOT was quite a smorgasbord of merchandising opportunities.
Right, and now we're just missing Kat and Al. And if Kat shows up, we'll let her do a quick intro. And Alessandro is our instructor extraordinaire and in charge of all of our training programs, making sure that we make sure that folk are safe when they're out on the range. But he also attended because he's a frequent attendee of SHOT as well. And then, of course, we've got the bench doctor himself, Mr. Scott Richardson, who is going to just let us see his bench rather than his charming facial features. So, Scott.
Hello, all.
Everybody should know who Scott is.
Yeah.
So Scott, I'm gonna go ahead and let you sort of MC
Okay.
it and maybe start with your impressions of SHOT.
Yeah.
You guys can go around the room and start talking, and I'm gonna shut up and get out of the way.
Yeah, I was there as a my badge said buyer, so my experience is different than the team's experience because I was there just as any FFL would be versus people that are in the media or people that are there, as vendors and all kinds of things. So it's kind of interesting to talk to, I stopped by the booth a couple of times, and their experience is different than mine because I had all the free time in the world to wander around and look at whatever I wanted. And and they had limited time, I think, because they spent a lot of time at the booth answering questions and talking to people. My impression, this is the second time I went, was just as overwhelming as the first time, but I knew what to expect. I don't think I could describe the scale of it. I've been to a lot of trade shows, and there's just nothing like SHOT Show. It's two entire expo centers with 2 floors in each, and then several other smaller, floors where they have classrooms and speakers and things like that. And so it took my buddy and I 2 full days to walk all of the show, and that's with very little interaction with people in the booths. Versus, and then we spent the 3rd day. I went around and talked to the people that I wanted to talk to there for business purposes. But so the scale of it is just monumental, and the fun part is trying to figure out where a particular booth is. I don't know if the other attendees had that problem where you're like, oh, I want to go see Facts and Barrels, and then you have to navigate with this booklet they give you and try to figure out with all of the booth numbers on the floors and the aisles and try to figure out where something is crazy. I just gave up and figured I'll run across them at some point. I knew what building they were in, but my friend John was getting pretty twisted up by about 3 o'clock every day trying to find a particular booth. But that was my experience. I loved it. I got to see and make connections with distributors, and I got to ask detailed questions. I got to meet all of the little manufacturers that would deal with people like me. Since I'm not a big store, I don't have the same kind of clout with the distributors, or I don't buy in volume. So it was neat to find these little one-off shops that will make anything for you. So anyway, I'll let them describe their kind of interpretation or feelings about it. Laura?
Yeah. Start same order. Laura first.
Yeah, it's SHOT is incredibly overwhelming. It's 14.5 miles if you walk every aisle. So it's a lot, and it's thousands of booths. And we kind of put ours where it was a little bit on purpose because we weren't sure what the reception was going to be. I mean, I'd been to SHOT. I knew what the reception to me had been like in the past, but I hadn't been since COVID. I didn't go last year. So this was the first year that I'd been back. I was a little worried, so I hadn't been since January 6th. We didn't really know what to expect. So we put ours on the lower level of the main kind of show building, but back a little bit. Still a good aisle, really easy to get to, easy to navigate to, but not right in the middle of everything. And we were still one of the absolute busiest booths on the floor, like just absolutely unbelievably packed. We're going to have to move the booth next year because it was so incredibly popular. We had the people around us loved us. By the end of the show, they were like, oh, it was so great being next to you guys. We got so much more traffic. Grant Cunningham told us that we clearly drove traffic to a whole new part of the floor that hadn't been there before. It was great. It was really, really fun. It was very overwhelming. I think I got to, besides Industry Day at the range, that I'll let the others talk about more, which is where you actually get to go shoot the firearms. I think except for that day, I touched 4 firearms the whole show. I just had no time on the floor because I spent a lot of time doing meetings and making connections. And so some things, I just kind of wanted to let people know some things that have already come out of the show. We actually got on an amicus brief in the Second Circuit that filed today. I'm having lunch with the head coordinator of Project Child Safe next week. When we go to DC, I'm having meetings with the general counsel of NSSF. They want us to do or they want me to do a little bit of coordinated stuff with them about talking about how, what language are they using that's turning off politicians automatically that they don't even realize they're doing. So talking with them, I'm trying to think. We've gotten amazing connections with some distributors. You guys saw I did a bunch of podcasts. I think I have 4 invites for podcasts sitting in my inbox right now. It was really, really, really incredibly fun and productive. And it was fun to see people's minds just kind of fry when they saw us at first and then realized it was serious. And it was great. We made these great connections. We had a really good time. It was really fun. It was really tiring. I'm not sure I've ever been so tired from a show before, just trying to put this all together. But I have to say, I think it exceeded all of our expectations. And, you know, we really leaned in. The way we came up with the unicorn theme was every time I go, somebody says, "Oh, you guys are unicorns. Look, that's so cool. You know, a liberal gun owner. Who's ever heard of that before?" And so we just leaned in completely on rainbows and unicorns and like being unusual and being different and being something different. And we knew that would either draw people in or they would know right away they didn't want to be part of that. But mostly it drew people in. And then we had a video. You can see Ed sharing the picture. So to the right of that picture next to Eddie, there's a TV screen that had video on a loop of pictures from annuals. It had pictures, it had some tape of interviews and that kind of thing. And once people started paying attention, they realized we were really serious. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to get to go talk to that many people. I actually didn't spend nearly the time in the booth that other people did. So I think that's going to be more, some other people can handle it. But yeah, it was just a great experience, and the team was amazing, and everybody, I think everybody had fun and everybody worked really hard, and it was just incredibly, incredibly fun. And I really appreciate the work that everybody did on this.
There were all these grand plans to meet up. I think it was Tuesday night, and my friend and I were staying at a different hotel up at the other end of the strip where the cheap people go. And we were like, "Oh yeah, we'll meet up with you guys at the whatever bar at whatever time." And we got back to the hotel, you know, took a shower, sat down. I'm like, "Nope, not going." Just wiped out.
Yep. I ended up sending poor Mark to a party alone on Wednesday night because I literally couldn't stand up anymore. I was like, I can't walk the 300 yards to get to that. I'm sorry, you have to go by yourself. So, but it was fun.
Oh yeah, worth every minute of it.
Sounds like a handoff to Mark.
Oh, sure. I thought we were going in order. No,
Yeah. Well, she segued.
Yeah.
she did. No, I did. That was an interesting experience. It was actually my very first time at SHOT Show, so I was taking it all in. I didn't know exactly what to expect. It really blew my mind. Not just the show itself. I mean, the show is it's a conference, but the reception and the attention that we got, it's just not something I was expecting when we came into it. Like Lara said, it was just nonstop the entire week. Everyone just either loved us or they started by hating us and ended up loving us. It was great. The people I got to speak with, you know, they came in and they're like, "Is this a joke?" And then when, you know, we got done telling them what we do and what we represent, they're like, "Oh, this is amazing. You know, you guys do great work." So we made a lot of friends around the country. I mean, I've met FFLs in Wisconsin and Georgia and, you know, Idaho. You know, we even have friends in Idaho now. So it was a lot of fun. I did go to the Guns.com party. I got this T-shirt. If you can't read it, it says Liberal Gun Club. They had
awesome.
So took that. That was an interesting little bit of a outside of your comfort zone, just going into a party where you don't know anyone. The people that I was supposed to go to actually didn't end up going to SHOT Show. They're the people that got me the invite. So it was just me. I didn't know anyone. But even then, I met I guess 1/5 of High Point, which is apparently 5 different companies. I met a bunch of people, made a lot of connections. While I was at SHOT Show, I was able to talk to a lot of different companies, and not just like their regular, you know, employees. I'm talking about CEOs and COOs and marketing directors. And we were able to set up a lot of meetings either at SHOT Show or made plans to meet after SHOT Show. Like Lara and I have a meeting with a big company on Monday to talk about partnering with the LGC. So there's a lot that we were able to accomplish. I don't think I've ever felt more productive in a 1 week period of time in terms of getting things done. There was almost zero downtime. It's probably the only time I've ever been to Vegas where I just didn't actually want to go out and explore after I was done with work. So my feet are still recovering. Like my heels are still aching. But yeah, I guess I'll pass it. Who wants to go next? Mike?
Sure, I'll go. Well, to follow on, it was just an amazing experience. I'm so humbled and grateful to be part of it. But real work getting done there, as Mark and Lara said. We'd get up at dawn basically to make our way to the booth, and we didn't get back to the hotel room until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, sometimes later. And it was just work and productivity the entire time. So it was really awesome. I spent most of my time in the booth talking to people, and that was my highlight was every conversation that started out with, "Is this for real? Is this a joke? Are you some kind of undercover left wing gun control thing?" And they left after talking to them. They left with, "You guys are doing a great job. So glad you're here. Keep up the good work." It just it would time after time after time, people would just kind of present their conservative bona fides, and we would talk to them, and once they got that we were real gun people, they kind of got it, and they said, "We're so glad you're talking to your legislators. We're so glad you're talking to your fellow progressives and liberals, and telling them about gun ownership." So that was just an incredibly uplifting thing. I mean, conversations like that, they would happen hundreds of times each and every day. The other thing that really blew me away is how many people sought us out. We weren't on a terribly well-traveled path, but people would come to look for us. I mean, the president of Otis Manufacturing came there. Glock people came there. Phoenix folks came by. People heard about us, and they said, "Well, what are you all about?" And they would come to the booth, and our little booth would be 3-4 people deep, talking to us, and we'd have this crowd around. It was really just amazing.
Yeah, I was sad when I heard Laura say she only picked up like 4 guns. I'm like, I was probably 4 feet into the first pavilion before, and I'd already picked up 4 guns.
I didn't really get to the floor very much. I did a little bit. I got to fondle a Manurin MR-73.
Oh, isn't that a absolutely gorgeous handgun?
Yeah,
that thing is perfection, absolute perfection.
I looked at it and I picked it up, and it was in the Beretta booth, and I didn't know that Beretta owned them. And I picked it up and I thought, when did they start making revolvers? And then I started playing with it. I'm like, oh my God, I need one of these. And then I looked down and saw the Manhurin label. I'm like, nope, I can't afford that.
I sat there, and I think I must, in the short time I was there, I think I went through about, 175 double action pulls of the thing.
Yeah.
Because it was so buttery and nice.
Yeah, that's actually one of the guns that I got to see, of the few that I got to see.
I'll be honest, the guns for me weren't even the most exciting part. Like just meeting all the people, like they were there. After the first hour, there's guns so all over the place. You kind of get desensitized. So I'm like, okay, AR-15s look like AR-15s after a while. So, but for me, meeting all the different people and talking to different people and vendors and all the cool products that are out there that are adjacent to guns, that was interesting.
Yeah.
And just here's my stack of cards of people I've been trying to get back in touch with.
We got Paul.
Merchandising. It was a great place to be. I was super psyched that this patch. Wait a minute. This patch was the patch to get.
Yep.
Someone saw it on eBay for $190. And it was everybody wanted one, so we had 500 of them. And so as merchandising director, having a part in producing the most popular patch at the SHOT Show is extremely gratifying. And I think the patch did a lot to make the impact of the club felt there. As far as first time I hit the SHOT Show floor, I was flummoxed. I had to call in Eddie to come and rescue me because I was so overwhelmed. I also happened to have a raging case of the flu, which didn't help. But that said, chance to talk to people, made some contacts at a number of different places. And one of the things that I think other attendees can speak to is that I went to Tandem Cross, for example, and I always thought of their name as just kind of like, I don't know, these guys could be fascists or something. Is it some sort of double speak for a swastika or something like that? And I show up there and they're awesome people. They love us. We're hoping to partner with them on things. And I think that was the case of a number of these companies that project a sort of, kind of a right-wing fasci base, but in fact, they're people just like us who love guns. So that was great. And also it was very gratifying to meet people, tell us about the club, and have them watch the lights go on. Mm. So there you have it. We have lots of things coming in terms. I was looking for mostly things like pin and patch suppliers and things like that. I think Lara and other people were more focused on actual discount codes and things like that. But I did feed a couple of contacts, and one of my favorite contacts that I think has made the business side of the club a lot easier was connecting with a firearms friendly bank who understands gun owners. So this is what they were giving out. They were giving out these glasses with bullets in them. And so we've just completed a deal with a firearms friendly bank that understands our business, understands us, loves our mission. And so I think in terms of the actual business of the club, I think that's really one of the biggest leaps forward that we made at the show.
Yeah, the bank was great. And we met all kinds of people. I mean, all kinds of suppliers came up and said, hey, will you work with us? Everything from insurance companies to patch suppliers to
stock customization.
Yeah, Glock people, actually, Glock came by. Mike was talking about it. I mean, it was ridiculous. And the general response was, yeah, we want to work with you. We literally had so many companies that wanted to work with us that we're going to have to prioritize it. I mean, it's for the first time, it's not like, oh, one or two are kind of interested. Now it's like, oh yeah, we have this whole spreadsheet that we have to figure out. Like, I don't know if Mark's got all those cards even into the spreadsheet yet. So
my
it was
cards
great.
are in there.
Yeah, no, it was really, really fun. I definitely want Paul to get a chance to talk about it because he and Eddie had kind of a particular role too that they did.
Yeah, so yeah, me and Eddie were going around the floor a lot, just like filming stuff with a lot of companies, and me and Ali as well too. Ali was really good to have there because he has a lot of relationships from his work in like personal defense world and all that stuff. He knows a lot of these people, so it was really easy for him to like, hey, John or whoever, like, nice to see you, man. It's been forever. And then like kind of, break that ice and start those conversations. One of the things that was really kind of surprising to me was just how many people like came up, not only to the booth, but people that we went and talked to. And they're like, I'd be talking to them and they'd be like, wait, let me stop you. I am one of you. Like either like I'm a member or like I need to be a part of this. Like this is like who I am. Like I have a bumper sticker on my car that says liberals own guns too. Or people that were like, hey, like I don't really talk about it, but like I lean left on like this, and this. Like I'm I'm pro-choice, I'm pro-gay marriage, I'm whatever it is, or climate change is real, all that stuff, and then so many other people that were like, hey, like I'm conservative, but like my wife or my daughter or my brother or my best friend or my neighbor or whatever, like they lean left and like this is like what we've been missing to like bridge that gap where so there was a ton of that. I think like a really cool interaction was there's a company out there called Magic Leap, and they're actually based in Florida, and this wing of the company called Magic Leap Horizons, they do augmented reality training solution. So you walk around with this real like electric driven AR, and they scan like a building or like a, an internal space, and then they can place virtual threats in that internal space that you see through augmented reality glasses. And I start talking to the guy, and I'm like, and he was like one of those people that stopped me and said, okay, yeah, we can talk about stuff we can do with the company. How do I get involved with the club? He's like, I want to talk about you first,
I remember that booth because my buddy that was with me shot everything in sight. I could like watch Paul go through on a screen.
Yeah.
And you could see other people's reactions or, the buddy I was with just massacred everybody. It was great.
Yep.
It was
but yeah,
hilarious.
like them, like they were awesome. They said the people from like Tandem Cross were super cool. Yeah, with like so many companies, like a good one. I know Scott had mentioned them before the show. Me and Larry were going up the escalator one night to go to dinner with the heads of NAAGA and APAGOA, and that was a great dinner. There's a whole other thing to talk about there. But we see this guy with a Defend Equality patch on his bag, so it's like, oh, of course we have to talk to him. So I stop him, and he turns around, and it's Martin, and he's like he runs like the entire customer service wing of Fax and Firearms, right? And then it's like, oh, this is so awesome, right? So like there were so many companies that we met, and I think even a lot of like the European arms manufacturers, like they like so I think so many people behind the scenes like just don't buy into the culture war. Yeah, there's Martin. Yeah, they don't buy into like the culture war aspect of it. Or if anything, they like lean towards us because so many of these European manufacturers, they're like, yeah, of course people should have healthcare and free college. Like they just see that as just like, no, that's what you do to run like a stable society. And yeah, it was kind of really refreshing to see like behind like that veneer of like, bullshit, of like right-wing fascist bullshit that's always like on like the gun industry, the people actually doing the work generally aren't that. So yeah, that was super neat to see. And the ones that even were kind of right leaning, they were like very open. Again, so many people that we talked to, by the end of it, they're like, God bless you, like you're doing the Lord's work. Like,
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. And it's like, well, I'm an atheist, but thank you.
One of the questions that I get from a lot of people that have never been there is like, oh, did you see a lot of, right wing and ultra, Trumpers? And like, no, not at all. You don't get that vibe. It's strict. It's very much up and up business.
Yeah.
Everybody's pretty professional. There's a few booths with some of that nonsense, but it's not in your face. There are always those clowns walking around that, like last year, when they had a mask mandate and about 80% of the people complied, but there was that crowd that you can't tell me what to do. And they're walking along with their chests all puffed up, looking for a confrontation. But that's really not the norm. I don't think politics is even really a part of it unless, like with the Liberal Gun Club, that's why they were there. But for the average attendee, you wouldn't know somebody's leanings very much at all.
Yeah, I want to give Eddie and Kat a chance to talk. We'll have Eddie go and then I'll introduce Kat because they've both been to SHOT Show with me before, and I kind of want to get them. Kat was in the booth and Eddie was on the floor. I want to hear how they felt this was different, having the booth and having the group with us instead of what it had been before, where we had just gone kind of as attendees, more like what Scott does. So Eddie, you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, so I mean, Larry and I have been to SHOT Show, like 7 or 8 times now, and just walking around and talking to people and looking at products and all that stuff for years. Larry's done most of the, the big talking and the speeches and the meeting people. But for me, this time having the booth, it was really cool, just like what everybody else said, just repeating that, making all those connections, talking to all those people. And some of the things that kind of stood out for me with having that booth was people were coming back, 2 or 3 days into the show. And they were like, hey, repeating what Paul said a few minutes ago is like, oh, I have friends, I have families. I'm not a lefty, but my sister is, my cousin is, my brother, my whoever. and they were like, hey, can I get a stack of your brochures? I don't just want one. I want like to take a stack of these with me and hand them out to the people I know that don't know about this, you know, and multiple people came for that, you know, came back asking for stuff like that. You know, they weren't just coming back for like the cool patch or something like that. Of course, yeah, they wanted one, but, you know, there were even, you know, a gun shop or two that I can remember that wanted a stack to put them in their shop. And I don't know if do you remember who that was, Lara, that grabbed a stack of those and actually sent us a picture of them, like hanging on their wall, like in their shop. Somebody did that. I can't remember.
It was in FFL. There was a range. We met Caleb, who runs that. It was in Nebraska, the outdoor education center, who he runs the range. Like it's like the state range in Nebraska. And he's just like, yup, like this, I'm all about this.
Like a brochure wall, like a picture that he sent with all the brochures like in the wall. And then he had the Liberal Gun Club stack in there.
Yeah.
And he like went and did it like immediately. Like it was like the day after shot, he sent that picture. So it was pretty cool. But also like, you know, just going around, I think Paul and I like doing those videos with like Tandem Cross and you know, the pepper spray company, Saber, right? And Mantis and stuff like that, like doing those videos, you really like get to talk to people and really get to make a bigger connection when you're there and you're doing stuff like that, rather than just walking up and shaking hands and saying hi for a few minutes. So like doing that actually, I think really solidifies some of the connections that you make. And that was pretty cool to watch that kind of unfold and see that happen too. So, but yeah.
Yeah. And then Kat, you want to introduce yourself and say your role in the club and then talk about the experience you had?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Kat. I'm president of the Illinois chapter. And yeah, it's my second shot. So the first one was 2020 with Lara. And the comparison between the two, you know, in 2020, that was pandemic year, but we were there before all that hit the fan. So I think we got the, you know, a more of a general vibe and like more of like how it always had been. And this year was so different. One of the biggest things that I noticed, I have a ton of pictures from the 2020 show of all these empty bathrooms, which was kind of cool in its own way because women are used to bathrooms that are so crowded. And this year, not the case. All the bathrooms were busy. You know, not overcrowded. There were no lines, but you were never in there alone, which was amazing. So it's just so many more women than there had been before. So that was really great. And also just not just as far as anyone approaching, whether I was in the booth or whether I was going somewhere else and, you know, on the floor and just talking to other people in other booths, I wasn't getting any of that, you know, little lady kind of stuff, which was a little bit more prevalent, I would say, in 2020. Not bad, but there. And still less again this year. So, you know, it's just as far as general treatment, it was just like, you're a gun owner, you're gun adjacent, whatever, you know what you're talking about. So here I'm going to tell you things that, you know, I'm not dumbing it down for you, which is really great. And then in the booth, I felt like I had a lot of like one-on-one interactions with whether they were range owners, gun shop owners, trainers. They were just asking how to, a lot of them feel like they've got the female market kind of in their grasp, where they've figured out that, you know, maybe the back room training facility that's like basically got, you know, porta potties for bathrooms and stuff. They've kind of figured out that maybe that's not the best way to have things set up for women. And so they're kind of upgrading things. The lighting's better. And but you know, the female market isn't the only one that we're looking for, right? We need to look for people of color. We need to look for the LGBTQ community. And just a lot of questions about how can I market better? Or how can I make sure that my range, my shop, my training information is more accessible and not intimidating or anything like that. And there was one that had asked that. I came up with the idea, and then I gave it to several others. And that was, they're in a conservative area, so maybe they don't want a rainbow in their window. But the equality sign, that's with the blue background with the yellow equal sign, subtle. If you know, you know. If you tend to lean super conservative, you probably haven't noticed it before, or if you've seen it, you don't know what it is. So put that in your window, because if you know, you know. So, hopefully that, trickled down to other folks too. Like if these shops, this information, so they disseminate it to others. And I had 2 armorers come by who do movie set. They're movie set armorers. And they were both like, people on movie sets ask questions. They're like, you're the gun guy. How do I become a gun owner? Or what do I need to do to train better or something like that? And they wanted stacks of stickers so that they could put them all on all their gear that's behind them. So, that way they can direct people to us. So that was pretty cool. One of my favorite ones was a trainer who's in Florida who apparently had come by our booth on Tuesday, opening day, and just kind of walked by, but saw everything and was just like, had the same thought line that we got from a lot of people up front. Was just, is this real? Is this a joke? What's going on? And it bothered him so much that he thought about it all night and could barely sleep, and came first thing Wednesday morning to talk to us. And he and I sat for like a half an hour and just chatted. And same kind of conversation as far as, he's got the thing with women down, but how do I make sure that, I'm, the advertising that I'm putting out, or marketing, or just the way I have my office set up is friendly to everyone. And he was really great. So I talked to a lot of people like that. There was a lot. I don't even know what kind of a number to give you. Lara, didn't you say we gave out like 4,000 trifolds?
Maybe more. We got there with 6,000 and left with like maybe 1,000, and I'm not sure even that many. Like, wow. Yeah, we gave out thousands. Thousands of people came by. We gave out. So we ran out of the unicorn stickers, or of the unicorn patches, and we had 500 of those. We gave out thousands of stickers. We gave out thousands of brochures. It was tons and tons of people. I mean, I don't remember who I was talking to, but they not jokingly said, "Oh yeah, your booth was busier than the NRA's. Every time I went by the NRA, it was dead, and your booth had tons of people."
I think we were probably the busiest booth, and I mean this seriously, not hyping it up. We were probably the busiest booth that wasn't one of the major manufacturers, right? That wasn't Smith & Wesson or Beretta or somebody like that, or CZ, And one thing that I wish we had done, I kind of want to do for next year, is put up like a GoPro camera just to watch the people walk by the booth. Like, not only just the traffic. I mean, sometimes you just had to people had to just like weave their way in there to like try to talk to one of us. But also, like, you could watch people like walk by and they'd see it and they weren't sure what they were looking at, and you'd see like the hamster wheel turning in their head. and so they'd kind of keep walking, and then you'd see them like kind of stop and think about it as as like their brain clicked and they realized what they saw, and then they'd think like, should I turn around and talk to them? And then they'd be like, yeah, I'll go talk to them. And they'd turn around. Like, seriously, people would get like 5 or 6 steps past the booth and then turn back around and be like, hey, so what's the deal here? It was amazing to watch. I'd say probably, I don't know, I personally watched probably 50 people do that, and then some people didn't talk. I think, that generally the people that weren't ready to have those conversations just didn't stop. And I'm okay with that. There are certain people that just weren't going to get it, and they have their preconceived notions and weren't ready to talk, and they didn't stop and talk, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It was great having that big life-size unicorn banner too.
Oh,
perfect for selfies and pictures. So many people stood next to that side by side with the unicorn for pictures. I don't know how many people did that. It was so many. It was awesome. That was a great draw to the booth to have that right there. Yeah.
And the number of people who just really sat down. So one of the things we did purposely was we did not put a low table in front and block the booth, right? We actually made the booth so that you could walk into it on purpose. We wanted that engagement, and we put a table and a high table and a couple of chairs in it so that people could sit and talk with us. And one of the great things about that was that people could be drawn in and really really sit if they wanted to have some time to talk. So it was really nice. We had multiple people that at least spent half an hour talking to somebody in the booth. The problem was it meant that we couldn't come back to the booth to eat or sit down because the booth was so busy, but it worked great. It was really nice. And I think that to be so welcoming was really helpful. So I think that was a really smart idea. I'm going to share my screen and I can show you a picture of the unicorn. This is a picture somebody with the unicorn. So you can get an idea, the unicorn banner was huge, and the traffic would come up towards the unicorn. So it was the first thing you saw. So people could see that from the aisle and come over and come look for that and say, what on earth is that? It was great.
Yeah.
We had all kinds of people.
Got a lot of attention, that thing. It drew people over, just big and bright, and you could see it from the main aisle. So it was awesome.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we did a really good job of projecting is not only are we serious gun people, but we have more fun with our guns than you do. You want to come shoot with us. We're serious about our guns, and we also enjoy the crap out of them, and you want to come hang out with us. And I think so many people got that vibe. Our gun club is more fun than your gun club is.
Well, to me, it's clear that you need to make a Chinese spy balloon size unicorn for next year.
That would be great.
I think that might be a good segue. I think we might be ready for questions, and I promise I won't sneeze in the middle of somebody's answer this time. Are we ready for questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So folks, if you drop your questions in the chat, I've already got one or two here. I've got somebody from the YouTube live stream who wants to know if there's any chance we're going to do a SHOT Show University on how to market to more demographics next year to uptrain gun shop owners and manufacturers with more awareness.
I can take that. So I actually talked to NSSF about how does that work, right? How do you get into SHOT Show University? And he said that we can pitch. That they take pitches. It's actually coming up pretty soon. I need to actually ask Chris when that's supposed to be, but we can actually pitch to do that, and they're interested in it. And actually, we have a couple things that we've been talking about pitching. So that's a really good one. I actually really like that idea, and having that. But we've been talking about pitching.
That came from user at gun websites on the YouTube channel. So
and that's like what Kat was saying. We were kind of informally doing that at the booth. All the FFL owners would come in and ask similar questions, and we'd give them tips and tricks on how to market to and how to work with people. Yeah. But yeah, a formal university thing would be cool.
Yeah, and for people who don't know, SHOT Show University at SHOT Show, there are classes you can take. They're up in the ballrooms and they run the whole show. Every day of the show, they probably have 10 to 15 different classes or things that you can do to kind of go learn. So that's why I was talking about that you can pitch to NSSF. NSSF is the one who runs the show. So we can pitch being one of those classes next year.
Yeah, I usually sign up for one or two of those every year. Something that piques my interest, and they're pretty big ballrooms. So I'm sure I get my business here in Oregon is tailored toward that market. And yeah, give me a holler if you need any information from me.
I think it's a great segue to our next question, which is from Jet here in Zoom. Going to SHOT Show for first time in 24. Could someone point to me a prep guide? They had those for Burning Man. That's the crowd we're in here, right? And it really helps. So, yeah, how to do SHOT Show prep guide? Do we have one we can recommend?
Well, what I would suggest is, depending on what capacity you're going in, are you going in as from an FFL, or are you going in for a different purpose? I mean, if you're going there to see everything, once you register, they'll send you a brochure that has a list of all the vendors and attendees, or not attendees, but all of the people that are going to be there. And it's huge. I would spend a couple of days going through that and marking the things that you want to see, that you need to, things that you need to accomplish while you're there, and then give yourself a good 2-3 days just to see the show and meet the people that you want to meet. But if you're going there from a different perspective, then Laura or those people can probably answer that.
FFL buyer is what the
yeah. Is, so. You get better swag as a buyer, I'll promise you that. When they see the red, they know you're spending money, or you could spend money.
Yeah.
All right. Some ad, Laura, because there's a couple questions still.
Yeah, I do. I think the No Lawyers Only Guns and Money blog does a prep every couple of years. I'll see if I can search it up and find it.
I have something to add. Is that on a practical basis, to echo that what Scott was saying, this is a massive thing. It is bigger than you are going to be expecting. And as much water as you think you will need, it is not enough, because you really need to keep yourself hydrated. I know it seems ridiculous, right? This is like camping, backpacking advice, but seriously, really stay hydrated. That will help keep you going, and
yeah.
Let me interject just a second. SHOT Show does have its own app. So it updates and uploads a little less than a month before the show starts. And you can go through that, list everything that you're looking for. It's got blurbs of information of what everyone is there for. And you can actually, everything that you favorite, you can map. So when you are there and you're hooked into the Wi-Fi, you can tell it, hey, I want to see all the stuff on this floor. And it'll give you a path through, so that you're not going back and forth and back and forth. It'll give you the best way to go and find all of them.
Oh, that takes all of the fun out of trying to find a booth at SHOT Show.
Well, and funny enough, some of the best stuff that you come across there is stuff like you didn't even know that to look for.
My last day there, I learned last year, is I told John, go do what you want to do, but I'm just going to wander. My favorite is that floor you guys were on. Mm-hmm. That's my favorite part, because they're all the little manufacturers and the people selling to a smaller market. And you can just go right up and talk to people and get all of the information you need. And that's my favorite thing, is just ad hoc it through there.
Mm-hmm. That's a great segue to another question that I have also from YouTube. The booth was in quote unquote okay spot, but are we planning on being in a different place, such as Media Row?
Definitely not Media Row. Media Row is strictly for radio. Media Row does not have booths, and as a matter of fact, you don't even have your booth exclusively unless you're like Tom Givens. So no. We'll probably be on the same floor. It depends. That's actually something the board's going to talk about coming up next week, about planning and getting a booth reserved for next year. We'd like bigger and closer to the front, but we'll probably stay on the same floor. But that's up for discussion for sure.
All right. And the popular merch question, I'm going to let John answer this one. Will the unicorn patches be available for sale in the store?
Yes, they will. The unicorn patch that we had at SHOT is a SHOT Show exclusive, and that's sort of part of the culture there, that generally the patches you get at SHOT are not available anywhere else. But we do have one that is in production right now. I hope to have it in the store by the end of the month, if not sooner. And it's basically the same design, except it does not have the cutout. It's just a plain square patch and slightly smaller. What will distinguish it from the SHOT Show patch is that this has a it has the horn sticking out.
Yeah, you got to put something behind it so it focuses. There you go.
So that'll be the difference. It'll just be a standard rectangular vinyl morale patch type with a hook on the back, and will also be slightly smaller so that it fits on a standard hook patch much better. With as you can see on Eddie's hat, maybe on the patch, it actually sticks out above the Velcro a little bit, which was kind of super cool and something we'll think about in designing the future morale patches. But yeah, you'll get the same design, just it won't be die cut like this one.
I'll sell you mine for $300.
I just saw YouTube or eBay for $75 for the one.
That's amazing.
So there's a question. I'm going to phrase this a little differently than it was asked. Is there a plan to rotate different people through SHOT Show at our booth, or are we pretty much staying with the same group?
We haven't really had a discussion about that. I would imagine that there'll be years that some people can't go and it'll fill in. The group that went was selected for various skills and reasons. And so to some extent, it will be the same group. I mean, it'll always be me, it'll always be Paul, it'll always be Eddie and Mike for sure. I would imagine, other people, we may actually add people as the booth gets bigger, depending on what it looks like. So there may be that, but we don't really have a plan for that. And it's not going to be something that's open. It's not going to be like, hey, I want to go. We, for various and lots of reasons, that just is not how that's going to be structured. But
yeah, we did a fair amount of planning on who was going to go. We weren't sure how it was going to be received. We were going to go with a big splash, so we wanted to make sure that everybody was safe and all of those things. So, is there an opportunity for other chapter representatives to participate? Absolutely. Keep being active chapters. Keep being noisy in your jurisdictions, and you too can be just like Kat. Let me see. I have other questions here. I'm looking in I got to look at 3 different places for the questions. I don't know how Kyle does this. Here's one. Any connections made or interviews given to high-profile gun media sites like the Firearm Blog TV, Recoil, etc.?
Yes.
I know for a fact we were on SHOT TV, but Laura, do you want to field that one?
TTAG wants 2 articles from me that I just haven't had time to write. Recoil is super excited about us. Very, very good connection with Recoil. Was on John Correa's podcast. Did Eye on the Target Radio, which is the largest syndicated gun radio show in the US. I have 3 podcasts sitting in my box right now. I don't even know who they are.
Craig DeLuz.
We did Craig DeLuz, Coffee with Craig, and that one. I did tons and tons of press. I'm missing press that I did. Like, I don't even remember who. Oh, Steve Gazowski came by. So Reload, we'll do another episode of Reload coming up at some point. So yeah, for sure. Tons of press, lots of pretty high profile gun press, lots of really good connections, plus SHOT TV, which actually goes out to like everybody to all of NSSF's subscribers. That was actually really big because that means that we're getting seen by the industry.
Wasn't the media guy from Recoil magazine, Dave Merrill, that stopped by? He said, "Oh, I'm a member." Like when he walked into the booth, and we're like, "Oh, that's awesome."
Yeah,
they've done a profile on us at least once before, if not twice.
Yeah, Ashley Hablinski and I had met at a party and sat and had a really long talk. She wants me to do some stuff with one of her new projects. So yeah, all kinds of people. Yes.
Oh, and there was the guy who is I can't remember his name. I always forget. Who's like the media director for the entire NSSF. What was that? Yeah, and he's like, oh, we want to put you in front of everybody. Like, so yeah.
All right. I want to wrap it up. It's half past the hour, so we've been at this for an hour. I got one more question because I want to know the answer to this. I assume I'll find out in a board meeting, but any plans for any LGC after hours offsite events to gather interested folks at SHOT Show next year? I know we had a quiet conversation with some friends after hours one evening, but I don't know that we have any formal plans. Laura, do we have any formal plans for anything next year?
We tried this year and we ended up with the problem. We actually had to rescind it because of a hotel issue. So yes, there are plans. We have to coordinate and have somebody not say we have to pay them $20,000 to do it, which is what happened this year, which was apparently a mistake. But yes, there will be something more formal next year. We hope money, as long as we don't have to deal with that, the money issue.
Cool. Last call I'll do one more question from any of the three places that I'm currently looking. If you're on Twitch or Twitter, I'm not looking there, so I apologize. So if there are any questions, we'll go ahead and let it go. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up. I'll give folks a second or two while I babble. I do want to thank the SHOT team. It was, when we did this, it was go big or go home. And we went pretty big. It was not inexpensive. It costs as much to do as our annual meeting every year. But the contacts and the quote unquote exposure, I know that nobody wants to get paid in exposure, but the exposure that the club got was incredibly valuable. It kicked up membership requests in the club by, I don't know, I'd have to look at the percentage, but it was like 10%. So on any given month, we might get, some number of people, and it was 10% more just by the fact that you guys are all over Instagram. So I want to thank Paul Kronk for absolutely bulldogging the social media, because we wouldn't have had quite that splash if he hadn't been annoying the crap out of me on a daily basis to get logins so you could do everything live.
Yep. You're welcome.
And then, the rest of the team, you guys did a hell of a job. And Scott, you need to be a little closer to us next year, not just be a buyer.
Oh, well, I would be happy to work a shift in the booth or something. If you guys need help with anything, just reach out. I'm happy to participate. I even pay my own way.
Free labor. We love it.
The free labor, yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at the questions. I don't think we've got anything else. So I think on that note, we can go ahead and wrap up this evening. Thank you all, both the team and Scott. Thank you for letting us steal your shot.